Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, thank you for tuning in to my podcast again. And today is Saturday, almost the last day of April. 2 more days, and the month of May will be here. And like most of the podcasts that I do, this is done without much planning. I roughly know what I want to say, and as usual, I haven't written them down on a piece of paper. So that's how I usually do my podcast, with a rough topic in mind. And today's topic is about sustainability certification for tour operators and travel agencies. So I'm not sure who out there listening to this podcast runs a travel agency, works in one, or owns a travel agency or tour operator. Maybe you might be running a tour operator company, or you are an employee working in one. So the travel agency and the tour operator sector is a crucial sector. It's one of the sectors in the entire tourism and hospitality industry. And I decided to do this podcast on sustainability certification for this particular sector, partly because of the recent mandates here in this country. The government here in Singapore, particularly the Singapore Tourism Board, has announced last year that there will be regulations going forward governing the MICE sector. That means all the venue spaces for events in the accommodation sector. And the regulations are specifically towards the need to have sustainability certification. So with these two sectors, I shared with a couple of industry peers and a few friends that my humble guess is the travel agency and tour operator sector may not be too far off. Perhaps in the next 1-2 years, if not in the next few years, we may have this announcement by the tourism board here that this particular sector, the travel agency and the tour operator sector, may also need to undergo sustainability certification. So here I am now sitting in front of my laptop, looking at a standard and certification looking at the certification standard and criteria, particularly from this organization called Travel Life. And the criteria covers things from accommodation to excursions to tour leaders, tour guides, to destinations, to transport, and to environment and community relations. And so all these 5-6 things that I've just mentioned that are found in the Travel Life criteria are pretty much things that touch into the operations of a tour operator and a travel agency. One of the things we would associate travel agencies and tour operators with very often is excursions, itineraries, and tours, and so when you look at excursions, when you look at tours and itineraries, you will quite easily and quite straightforwardly be able to think of why sustainability matters. You will probably be able to more or less straight away identify sustainability concerns when you think about tours and itineraries. So travel agencies and tour operators, one of the things that they do is basically bringing people around, designing activities and things for people to do during their stay in different places, responsible for moving people around from one place to another. So that's where transportation comes in. So there's a lot of environmental impacts Potentially, there's also quite a lot of social impacts. How you design your itineraries, what are the activities you put in and don't put in, will have an impact on the lives of the local people. The things and the activities you design for the travelers who use your services will also play a part in contributing to the revival of cultural practices in the local communities in the destinations. So this is part one. This podcast is meant to be at least consisting of 2 parts, maybe 3, and I will try to do part 2 and part 3 if there is scope for doing a part 3 in the next few weeks. So sustainability concerns also exist, and they do exist very strongly, very distinctively in the travel agency and tour operator sector. And my observation is in many countries, in many destinations, there are not a very strong participation amongst travel agencies and tour operators when it comes to taking up adopting sustainability practices, because it is troublesome. At least that's the perception that I think many have, because it is time consuming, and maybe perhaps sometimes it costs money, and also maybe for some or to some, they don't really know how to go about doing it. I'm speaking to 1 or 2 travel agencies here, and one of them is a fairly household name. And it seems that compared to almost 10 years ago when I started to approach a few back then, it seems that the reception, perhaps it is because the perception of travel agencies and tour operators here have changed, at least slightly. They are more receptive now, at least to the 2 that I'm speaking with. But concerns still remain, and the concerns that they have are very real ones, from economic costs to some other kind of costs. To how complex some of these sustainability practices could be. So in my next podcast, I will address more of such concerns, and I will be talking about in greater detail at least a few criteria. So I thank you for taking time out to tune in. Enjoy your weekend. At least here in Singapore, there is this sudden downpour, which seems to be the kind of rain that will probably last until late at night today. I wish you a good weekend, and tune in to the other podcasts. This is probably my podcast number 33 or 34, and we cover quite a broad range of topics. See you again very soon. Bye-bye.